What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for being here. Today, I am joined by Mr. Rob Laine. I know Rob from back in the band days. We used to play in a little emo band together called Prevails. And if emo music is your thing, I did drop 2 music videos in the show notes that you can check out below. So go check that out if emo rock is something that you're into. But what we're actually here to talk about is Rob opening a business. He opened a really cool little cocktail bar in Picton, Ontario called the Russ Co. And he did it during COVID. So what we discussed today is some of the actionable steps that he took to actually go about and start the business, some of the challenges that he and his partners faced, and how they overcame those challenges and made a business that now flourishes so much that they're starting a second location. So it's a really interesting conversation. I'm really happy that I got to chat with my old buddy again. So check it out. Here is Rob Laine. What's new, man? Like, how's hockey? You came from hockey?
Yeah. We're pretty much wrapping up for the end of the year right now. So,
Does your team suck or what?
No, I actually do play in a league where I play on a team out here, it's a pretty competitive league, but that's pretty much wrapping up. We've got our playoff tournament this weekend, but then there's pickup hockey almost every day of the week out here. I sometimes play 4 times a week.
No way.
Which is great. And then, the ice is getting taken out of Picton at the end of this week, but then Wellington, they leave the ice in until about May, because that's where the junior A team plays.
Oh, no way. So, that's cool. So
sorry, no, go ahead. You
have pickup until May.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll keep playing until mid to end of May. Nice. And that's a really nice rink as well.
Your competitive team, do you stick to one position? What position are you playing?
So I'm usually always in net because I'm a goalie. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I play out. I'm not very good.
I forgot that you were a goalie. You remember that I'm a goalie too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah. That's awesome. I miss playing so much. I've always wanted to get back into playing even just a pickup beer league sort of situation. It's tough with the touring schedule. It's tough when you're away a lot. But hockey's going to be easier than getting into something like baseball, because I'm always gone during the summer to go do shows. Yeah. So I feel like Woodstock has tons of leagues, and I know that there's a great program over in Tillsonburg too. So maybe the 24-25 season's the year for me.
Return to the ice.
What are your while we're on hockey real quick, what are your predictions for the rest of the Leaf season and playoff run?
Who knows, man? Oh my God. Look, they've been playing a lot better lately. I feel like the guys that the pieces that they added for this season have finally started kind of falling into their positions, and then adding Joel Edmondson on defense is huge too, right? Finally having that big tough presence in front of the net.
Yeah, Jake McCabe does a great job of that too. I really like Jake McCabe. I think he's awesome. But including Edmondson, it fortifies what the Leafs haven't had in a long time, which is a little bit of strength and grit and muscle. I've always I hate to ever say anything positive about Boston ever, because I hate them more than anything. I hate ever. But I respect them as a team because they have just so much muscle, and they have so much, when they step out onto the ice, they're not afraid to run their opponent over. And that's something the Leafs haven't had. And something else that the Leafs have this year, I think, that they haven't had other years is I really like their depth players this year. Every time their fourth line gets out on the ice, they grind through a really good shift and create some ozone time and maybe even a chance or two. And, we got McMahon, we have Robertson, who I really like too. I feel like they've leveled out their 4 lines in a better way this year than they have other years. And I just think that depth is going to, so much can change so quickly in a playoff game. And if you can get a fourth line, like chip in goal, that goes a long way toward winning games.
Well, look at, it was the Washington game last week. Bobby McMahon and Alex Holmberg both had 2-goal games.
Yeah, it's massive. Like, yeah. I don't think, I just don't feel like the Leafs have looked like that in the past couple of years. And so, I mean, obviously the core players are going to continue to deliver. And, you know, we're all looking forward to Mitch Marner coming back. And it's fun to watch Matthews play, and it's fun to watch Nylander play when he's not being a little bitch. Yeah. But
well, and Matthews is on pace to set the first 67-goal season in 30 years.
For the Leafs as a franchise?
No, for the NHL.
Oh, no way.
He's on pace for 67, and if he hits 67, it'll be the first time that number's been hit in the league in 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
dude, he's on pace. Yeah, he's on pace to break goals in a season, or he was on pace to break goals in a season. He won't be anymore, but yeah, like top 10 all time and first time in 30 years. It's crazy. Yeah, I've had this conversation with a few people, but I really feel like we're watching a moment in Leafs history that, you know, it'll be one of those things that, you know, if we end up having kids, like when they come along, we'll be like, oh, well, you should have seen the Austin Matthews days, like him and Marner on a line, like it was something else. And I really do feel like we're witnessing a small piece of history, at least for that particular franchise, that's really, really special. And it's good to remember that, you know, even if you get frustrated watching them sometimes, you are in like really, really special times and the kind of like the good old days, you know?
Of course, like the thing is, man, is like you're still talking about a league that has over 30 teams. There's lots of talent. There's lots of great teams out there. And it's like to win a Stanley Cup is not a very easy task for even the best teams, right? So even if they don't come out with a Stanley Cup championship out of like this era, it still is a great era to like be able to watch and be a part of. Absolutely.
It's been a lot of fun. It's been tons and tons of fun.
Yeah. Well, I think the only team that's higher scoring is Colorado. I think the Leafs have either the second or third highest amount of goals for this year in the entire league. It's like 258 goals or something like that.
Yeah, it's something crazy. Yeah. Matthews is still at the top of the league for goals scored, though, is he not?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like by a good few.
Oh yeah, I don't think anyone's even close.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy to watch him shoot because you know you see a seam pass and it's just like, oh, here we go, and then he just almost every time he blasts it, and it's just crazy to watch. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to talk to you about, so I know you from, you know, we're good buds from back in the band days. But since then, you've kind of graduated out and carved your own path and started a business. So why don't you tell me a little bit about that? It's a bar. It's called the Russ Co. But what was the inception of it? Where did you get the concept? Who was it with? Like, take me kind of through the story from the start.
Yeah, for sure. So the last time we chatted, I like on the pod was I just moved out here. I think it was still about a year or two after into moving to Prince Edward County, and I was working for the brewery still, I believe, at that point. Mm-hmm. Now, working in the industry out here, it's very tight knit. You get to know a lot of people very quickly. It's a really good community in terms of just the hospitality industry out here. So through working for the brewery I was working for at the time, which was Parsons. It's a massive outdoor space, really cool, just like craft brewery with a great food program. One of my current business partners, Russ, owns a wine tour company and would bring groups, bachelorette parties, bachelor parties, friend groups, whatever it may be, on wine tours, and would come through the brewery every so often. So Russ and I first met as me kind of being the liaison at the brewery for his groups that he was bringing in. And then we actually started playing hockey together in the winter. So we, from a couple different like ways of life, became really good friends. And one thing led to another. We started talking about wanting to open a bar, and that led to the Russ Co. So what we had kind of talked about and done was, and this is the important part of why we opened the bar and why it has been as successful as it's been, is we started talking about what there was a demand for, where there was a hole in Prince Edward County in terms of what we were missing and what the community needed and what the tourism needed as well. And that was a late night spot and a bar that was not a restaurant first. We've got a lot of great establishments in not only Picton, but Bloomfield, Wellington, and the surrounding area. It's a massive island with all kinds of cool hamlets that all have different things to offer. But the one thing that was missing, and especially in Picton being the biggest city on the island, was a late night bar. So that's where our starting point was. We started talking to a couple other people that wanted to get involved, and all of a sudden we had the team available to take the idea of opening a bar and opening a cool, like old school speakeasy. So it's like this old speakeasy cocktail bar. We do have food. You have to serve food, but we're not a place you'd ever come for dinner. It's just simple snacks, and we focus on the drink program. So what I was saying is there's all these great establishments, but everything that is a bar is a restaurant first. So we decided to open this bar, being the only thing open late on Main Street till 2 a.m. We started catering to not only everyone who was already in town that was visiting, all of the locals, but then we started catering to all of the industry workers as well, because all these restaurants that we have shut down usually around like 11 p.m., 12 a.m. at the latest, and all the workers never had anywhere to go. Well, now there was a bar that was open for everyone who's finishing work to be able to go out to as well. So that's kind of where the whole concept and idea was. We knew that there was a demand for it. There was nothing kind of like it in the area at that time. So that's where we started and what we opened.
Yeah, that's awesome. So once you kind of decided on the idea, how did you go about executing it? Like, how did you lay out the plan and how did you actually make it happen? Like, what are the steps?
So the timing worked out really well for us, and I think it's like really important to have patience when it comes to having an idea and not forcing it. We were lucky enough that from the time that, like, the inception of the idea was in the beginning of January of 2022. Yeah, January 2022 was the inception of the idea. We were lucky enough that by spring of 2022, a mutual friend and acquaintance was giving up his restaurant. So he was giving up his space for lease right on Main Street. So we essentially bought him out of his lease. It cost us money to get into that space, but knowing that we needed to be not only on Main Street, but in what now was the opportunity to be inside one of the oldest buildings in the county, because we're part of the movie theater that's there. So we're right in the center of downtown in a historic building. It just all kind of made sense. So we were really lucky with the timing of that. Now, if you remember what that timing was as well, that was right at the end of the pandemic. That was pretty much right when mask mandates were finally being lifted. So obviously there were some businesses that had gotten to the point where there wasn't really a means of survival anymore. So our timing of trying to open up a business while the world was opening back up actually gave us a lot more opportunity. So it was a bit of a silver lining for us, and just the timing really, really worked out. So the biggest thing I always say, especially in a place like this where we have 2 to 3 million tourists every summer, We have a very small local population of about 35,000 people on the island. Picton itself is only under 5,000 people. Location's very, very important. If you're not right downtown, you're going to have a really hard time surviving the entire year, especially if you're opening a new business out here.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy that you kind of got to, like, I guess, drop in right at the end of the pandemic, and you were uniquely positioned to catch the wave back up because, you know, with the lifting of the mandates, with the lifting of the masks and all the other stuff, people were probably, I mean, I remember being hungry to just go out and do things and to be places. And so you got into the space in the spring. How long did it take you to prep the space and get everything in order so that you could actually open? Like between signing the lease takeover and opening day, about how long was that?
So that was April 1, and we ended up opening at the end of July. So that was actually a lot longer than we anticipated. It was almost 4 months.
Yeah, it would be 4 months.
And the big reason behind that was because, you know, even though given the silver lining of us having the opportunity to move into the space, we dealt with the problems of supply chain issues. So getting our equipment on time, getting like things like upholstery and marble. We did a lot of the renovations ourselves. We put in like a beautiful vintage antique back bar that's an old apothecary from Hungary. We built the bar, we built banquettes. We essentially started from scratch when we took this room over. The only thing that was left that was original in the room was the tile and the tin ceiling. That's like the original tin ceiling from the 1800s. So that's the only stuff that stayed. Everything else came out. Everything was demolished, and we started from scratch. So we could have been open probably within 2 months, but that time doubled because of how difficult it became to get all the things that we needed to be able to open. A big reason why we were able to successfully still do that, and we didn't run into the problems of running out of money when you're paying for this space for 4 months with no revenue coming in, is because the building that we're part of is a not-for-profit, so our rent is heavily controlled. And what we've done is we've started donating to that organization as well.
Oh, that's cool.
It's been successful.
Yeah, totally. So 4 months between kind of inception, lease signing, and then opening, and the delay was due to supply chain. What other challenges did you run into in that time? Like who came up with the design? How did you manage to bring something across from Hungary and put it in the room? Like whose idea was that?
So we had an antique dealer that reached out to us. He operates a massive antique shop in downtown Kingston, which is about an hour east of us. He had heard that we were opening this bar. He had this piece sitting in the back of his shop, and just figured that the opportunity was great for him to try and be able to sell it to someone who could actually use it. It's a massive piece, and that just all worked out. It was all part of everything really falling into place. One of my business partners is a pretty well-renowned photographer, interior designer, and artist. So she was able to take our vision and these ideas and put them to life and create this space that when you walk into it, it's a bar that feels like it's been there forever. And also, it's a bar that feels like it could be anywhere in the world. You could be in London or Toronto or LA or wherever, and instead you're in this small little town on an island halfway between Toronto and Ottawa, and you've got this bar that you normally find in like bigger city centers.
What about demographic? Because Picton is only 5,000 people. Are most of your clientele local, or do you have more tourists than locals?
During the summer, it's all tourists. We do get some of the industry staff later at night when they can get in. During the off season, which it all kind of depends. It changes year to year. A big part of that is obviously travel patterns, people that are traveling internationally rather than domestically. Also has to do with weather. As soon as we see colder and shittier weather in the spring and in the fall, that either shortens our season or lengthens our off season as we head into the summer. So during the months of April, May, it starts to pick up a little bit. We start to see more tourism. June is your big ramp up, and then July, August is just the wheels come off, man. It's crazy. You can't walk down Main Street without being shoulder to shoulder with people. It's really,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. We get really, really busy through the summertime, and everyone out here lives for the summertime. There's a lot of people who work 4 months out of the year, and then they go and do something else for the rest of the year as well.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So, but during the off season, we see a lot of different locals from all different walks of life. It's been a place where a lot of people have been moving to and continue to move to as people are trying to escape downtown cores and bigger cities. A lot more people being able to work remotely. So we see a lot of people who have just moved out here, who are working remote, who are still trying to discover everything that this place has to offer.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Was there ever a moment where you thought it wasn't going to come together, or was it pretty much smooth sailing and, according to plan?
Yeah, I'd say for the most part, smooth sailing. There's always going to be times where, it feels like what you're doing is almost impossible. Especially when you're waiting on things like equipment and upholstery and marble that's, it's a 2-week turnaround, and then 2 months later you're still waiting on it. It's just there's no money coming in. That was probably the hardest part, is not knowing when we were actually going to be able to open because of how long we were waiting on everything. Now, I don't know if I've told you this, but we are actually opening a second location.
Okay, yeah. Tell me about that.
We're opening a second location in Wellington, which is the next city over. It's about 25 minutes away from the current location. And we've kind of entered what I would say, this is probably the hardest position that we've been in since opening the first place. We had a very, very slow winter out here. It was much slower than last year. And I also made a point of making sure that we didn't close down at all, and we kept everyone employed. So there wasn't a lot of money coming in.
Do you slow right down through the winter months? Do you go from can't seat anyone ever because it's always full to breaking even, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. We don't make money in the winter time. We could, if I decided to lay everybody off and work behind the bar myself, then yeah, we would end up making money. But the whole idea is to keep all of our staff employed, giving the option of, hey, if you want to take a voluntary layoff, you're more than welcome to.
How many staff do you have?
I have 4 staff members right now.
Okay.
And now the bar only seats 30 people. So with 4 people, we usually don't have more than 3 people on. You can do it with 2. 3 is comfortable during the busier days and busier nights. But yeah, I only have 4 staff right now, and that team will probably stay that size for the. I can't see myself needing more than that. Everyone's really hungry to work in the summertime, and then the hours become less available in the wintertime, and it's just trying to spread everyone out. So everyone can still pay their bills through the bleak winters that we get out here.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It's cool because, a good business isn't just a thing that makes money. It's something that builds community, especially in something like what you do. And so to make the decision to keep your staff on, I mean, albeit it's a small group of staff, but it's still the right decision, I think, in a lot of ways, and it gives your establishment this feeling of community and taking care of each other. And that probably, do you see that reflecting kind of out into the community around you?
Yeah, I mean, just with like talking about being a part of the community and supporting the community and stuff, like I think that we do that just by staying open through the wintertime. Through the summertime, a lot of the people who live here don't have the opportunity to come check out the restaurants and bars and go out because it's so difficult to get in anywhere. It's almost impossible to get dinner reservations sometimes here through the summertime. The bar is packed and lined up every night, and a lot of people who live here, like, you can only take the tourist energy is great, but you can only take so much of that before you're like, I don't want to be surrounded by all these people who don't live in my town.
Tourist energy, no matter where you are and whatever situation you're in, will wear on a local. It's just the way it is.
Absolutely. So our time for our actual local community to come check us out is mainly through late fall, the entire winter, and heading into early spring, where a lot of businesses would probably be smarter to just close down through those months. I mean, especially January, February, or at least dramatically decrease your hours. Like for us, it would probably make sense for us to go down to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, even Friday, Saturday. That would actually end up in the long run being more profitable for us. But the thing is a lot of the restaurants, especially like the few that surround us directly on Main Street in Picton, they stay open, and they stay open till 10, 11 o'clock sometimes at night. And if we're going to be closed more than 1 or 2 nights a week through the wintertime, all those people who are still working and want the opportunity to be able to go and do something after work, all of the people that are part of our community that don't enjoy going out in the summertime and being surrounded by tourists and want to just enjoy what's available to them in their own city during the slower season, like those people wouldn't have the opportunity to come and do that if we decide to, you know what, slower season, we're just going to close. So I think being a part of the community and offering the community like just our service and a place to go that's really important to us as well.
For sure, that makes sense. There's still a market to service there, even if you're not churning huge profit on it. It's worth doing the service. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's why we do it. Like there's multiple nights through the off season where you're breaking even. There's some nights where you lose money, but the conversations and the connections and the involvement with like your local community, it really flourishes during those times.
Yeah, they all count. So now you're positioned, it's end of March. You're positioned coming out of an especially slow winter. Why was it so slow, by the way? Do you know?
It's a combination of a lot of things, I think. Again, people are wanting to travel more like internationally now that, we are able to travel again. And I think that we're still seeing a little bit of that, but also, I mean, times are very tough for a lot of people, right? I mean, we're pretty much fully in a recession at this point and have been in a very, very difficult economic state for a very long time. So extra spending money isn't really there for a lot of people, and especially out here where a lot of the people that we depend on, it's kind of the double-edged sword as we stay open for a lot of people, but we don't see a lot of people because these people don't have any money to go out because there's no money really coming into the community. As I said, a lot of people live out here for the summertime. So it's, it really is it's a double-edged sword when it comes to staying open that way. But again, it's important for us to stay open for the reasons that I stated. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Like it's just January, February, man. It's tough times. It's gray months. There's no sunshine. People are making money. Like it's like rather just if they want to have a drink, they're going to do it at home.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so you're coming out of a winter that's been slower than you want it to be, and you're also opening up a new location, one town over.
Yep.
How did that come about, and how are you getting through that financial strain on the company?
So we've had to put like personal money into opening this, where the original idea was that we were going to be able to float opening this new location with the profits from the first location. That hasn't been the case because of how slow of a winter we had. So we've had to float a lot of the renovation expenses personally, because we've again started from scratch. We pulled everything out of the restaurant that was existing there and started over. Built banquettes, built a bar, built a back bar, and did all these things. So it's it's just getting to the point where we can open and start making money. And the reason why we decided to still go ahead with this, even though with the uncertainty that we had through the wintertime, was because of the same reason why we opened location number 1. And that was because in Wellington, they also don't have a late night spot. There's nothing that's open past 11 p.m. midnight, and we wanted to be able to get in there before anyone else decided to do it. And because we are a familiar brand in the area, we knew that we would have the trust of the people from Wellington already when we decided to open. And we've been asked by a number of people since we opened the spot in Picton, when are you opening in Wellington? So it's been kind of a call and answer kind of thing.
Yeah, you did your market research.
Yeah.
So are you going with the same name?
No, so the first location is the Russ Co. The second location is going to be called Bar Duchess, and that's an ode to Wellington, the Duke of Wellington, Duchess of Wellington. And so a little bit of a historical background to the name as well.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Do you know when you're slated to open?
Yeah, we're about 3 weeks away now at this point.
Oh, you're close.
Yeah, so it's very close. So we're just waiting on equipment at this point, and then we'll start doing some soft opens. We're going to be inviting a number of the local businesses, some friends and family nights, and then we'll be ready to open to the public hopefully by about the third week of April.
Did you go with the same sort of thematic look? Is it like the same sort of speakeasy feel?
It is, yeah. So it's very much the same concept, same atmosphere, just different color scheme, a little bit of a different vibe, but very similar at the same time. And then it'll be a different menu as well.
Yeah, nice. That's cool. Same sort of thing where it's small foods because you have to serve food. You're like not a restaurant. You're a bar.
So it's actually a really good question, because this location actually has a kitchen in the back. It has a fully functional kitchen with an oven and a deep fryer, sinks, fridges, everything you need. The one thing that we are going to do is keeping it simple as we open, and that'll be still small plates, a little bit more offerings than what we have at the current location. So just doing like your simple like charcuterie, your small bites, but just a little more, a few more options. And then as we continue to go through the summertime, we'll look at growing that food menu as well. And the nice thing is with this place is, so again, it's not ever a place that I would say you come for dinner. It's a place where you could get some good snacks, or if you can't get in for dinner, come eat as much charcuterie as you can.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Yeah. But the nice thing is with having a full kitchen is it gives us the opportunity to do some more events and dinners come the fall and winter time. So when the winter does come, instead of, Wellington gets even more slow than Picton does in the wintertime. And we originally discussed when we were opening, it's like the one thing that we may have to consider doing is actually closing for a portion of the winter in Wellington, with that not being the most ideal, the ideal decision to make. The workaround on that will be, it's like, because we have a kitchen, we have the event space to be able to do some cool ticketed events, some great stuff to, again, just serve the community that's there, that may not get the opportunity to come and enjoy it as much as they'd like to in the summertime.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
So let me ask you kind of a humbling question. What is a mistake you made throughout the process? Like what's something you fucked up?
Yeah, 100%. I have terrible organization skills, and it's definitely been like that's been the hardest thing for me to really overcome. Is especially when we first opened in Picton, being 80 plus 90 hours a week of just service, of making sure the place was ready to open, running the entire service, and then closing the place down and not getting out till 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning sometimes, and then being back at 11 a.m., if not earlier, to make sure we're ready to open for 1 p.m. So it was the balance of being able to handle all of that and then do all of the back end stuff as well. It really catches up with you quickly, and sometimes it's too much, and then all of a sudden just like you have so much reporting to do and all of those things. So I'd say like that's been my biggest struggle so far, is just you learn a lot when you go from I've managed multiple establishments for the past 15 years, and going from just in a management position to an ownership position, you take on so many different roles and hats and responsibilities that it's easy to let some of the stuff that doesn't seem so important build up and then become almost unmanageable to get caught up with it without wanting to pull your hair out.
Yeah,
so
for sure. So how have you countered that problem? What have you done to change how you handle it?
No days off, man. No days off. It's like when you wake up, it's like waking up in the morning, instead of sitting down and having coffee and taking some time to reflect and just enjoy the morning before hitting the ground running. It's like, all right, I'm going to have my coffee and I'm going to start catching up on reporting and doing all the back end stuff and just finding time here and there. The other thing that's been successful in allowing me to stay a little more on top of those things and really finding that balance has been the fact that now I have more staff than I ever did. And that's only 4 staff. It used to be 2. So having 4 staff means I don't have to spend as much time behind the bar. I can focus on more of the umbrella of things. The idea with opening the second place and then potentially opening a third, fourth, fifth place in the next 3 to 5 years is getting to the point where we have a team that I can trust with every different channel of the business, where it just becomes more of an overseeing role. So that's helped a lot, is having some great employees that I can trust with everything, where I don't need to spend a lot of time behind the bar anymore.
Yeah, that's really awesome. You've built something that you can scale now. You can take the thing that you've already created and say, well, we can do that here and we can do that over here. And that's got to be an exciting place to get to. Like it must leave a lot of space for optimism for how the future is going to go, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Like at this point, we're just, we continue to talk about what the community still needs, where those holes are, and start talking about ideas on things to open and collaborating with other business owners as well who might be looking to jump into a new venture.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how many hours a week are you working then?
At this point, not as many as I do in the summertime. Come summertime, it's like you're 80 hours, no problem. But again, everyone out here works for the summertime, and that's it. I try to really control that and kind of scale that back through the wintertime, just to be able to have a bit of a life at least.
A little balance.
And it's also, of course, it's really important. And then also, there's no vacation available. Like, you can't go away from spring to fall. So we always make sure that we set aside the time to be able to go away through the wintertime as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what piece of advice would you give someone who's at kind of the start of their journey? They have an idea. They're thinking to themselves, hey, this may just work. What would you tell to that person to help them be successful?
Yeah, I would say, this kind of goes for multiple industries. This, I would say, pertains primarily to like hospitality, like food, beverage, even retail. If you're like making something, you're producing something, whatever it is. I think it's really important to start small, and implement yourself in the community and really build a name for yourself before just pulling the trigger and going. Now, I think it also comes down to, it's really important to, as I said, like being patient and looking for the right time. Depending on what you're doing, location is very, very important. And if you're looking to do brick and mortar and you don't end up in a location that complements, where it's just making your journey harder, it's going to take that much more of a toll, and it's going to take that much more time to build something up. So I lived here for about 3 years before opening this business. And again, we were very lucky with the timing of everything, with being able to get into the location that we were in. But myself and my partners at that point had already established ourselves as pieces of the community that were in the hospitality industry, between managing a brewery. Russ is a part owner of another brewery in Wellington, also runs a wine tour company. One of our partners being this renowned artist and photographer and designer, also owns one of the cannabis dispensaries downtown.
Nice.
So it's just like all the people that were involved were already implemented in the community, and everyone kind of knew who we were and what we do. And then also we were very lucky with finding the space that we had. So, I mean, surrounding yourself with a great team, people that you trust and people that bring different skill sets to the table. Like one of my partners is our lawyer. One of our partners is our Instagram, social media, art, all of that. And then we have operational partners, being me and Russ. So it's building a great team. It's really doing the groundwork and implementing yourself in a community, and also just timing. I think that those are the most 3 important things to really set yourself up for success.
Nice, man. That's awesome. I think that's really cool. I think what I like about your story is that you really found a way to plug yourself into your community, and then through that process you found a way that you could serve them. And when you figured out how you could serve your community, you then took the steps toward filling that hole and providing that service. And obviously you've been successful at it because you're opening a second location, and you're dreaming about a third and a fourth and a fifth. And I think that's a really cool way to start a business, because it's a very organic approach to just be amongst people and say, hey, how can I help these people out? And then make a business out of that. It's really, really neat, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, it's, the other thing as well is kind of to riff off of that is, the first time that I came out here, and we covered this last time we chatted, was the first time I came out here, I decided right away that I wanted to move out here. And I got very aggressive in making that happen. Where I essentially contacted the brewery that I worked for when I first moved out here. I contacted them directly. I was like, hey, I was at your establishment this past weekend, and I had a great time. I see a ton of potential, and I feel like I could really help you reach that potential. This is what I bring to the table. This is my experience. I'm ready to move out there. If you'll have me, I will do whatever I can to really make this the right decision. And within 2 weeks, I started working out there. I was commuting for about 3 months, and then
that's what, a 4-hour commute?
No, it was from Newcastle, not from Cambridge.
So got you. Okay,
it was only about it was about an hour and 40 minutes one way. But yeah, so I was driving 3+ hours every day. But we were lucky enough to find a place that we could afford and we could get into. So we moved out here a few months after that. And then from there, it was just like hitting the ground running, just like deciding like, hey, like if you want to be a part of this community and you don't just want to be another person who's just working, like you want to, offer something. That's just what I wanted to do. I never wanted to get back into the hospitality industry unless I could have something of my own that I could decide what we were going to do for our community. So.
I didn't know you were so aggressive with the move and calling up the brewery and being like, listen, I need to come work for you. You got to hire me. Like that. Yeah. It's not even like you replied to a job opening. You just called them and said, you need me. I'm ready to come. Are you ready?
There was no, they had a posting available for a sous chef position. That was the only thing that they had available that they were looking to hire. And I told them, look, I've got a ton of kitchen experience, but I'm not looking to come and be your sous chef. Like I can help with managing your kitchen, but I'm not coming here to do that. I'm coming here to help like manage like your full service. And this is what I can do for you. And I think I ended up I had 6 interviews with them where I was driving from Newcastle for every interview. I would come and sit down with them because, that's totally fair when you have this totally random guy who came to your brewery one time, call you up and be like, hey, I want to move out there. I want to work for your company. This is what I can do for you. Like, who is this guy and who does he think he is?
Well, basically, from their perspective, some patron just called them up and was like, yo, I want to manage your establishment.
That's literally exactly what it is. Like that, very bluntly, yes, you're correct.
Yeah, like that's crazy.
Yeah, and that's what I did, and that's why I showed up for 6 interviews, and it was finally the 6th interview. They were like, okay, I think we've done our due diligence, like, and you obviously are serious about this, considering you've driven out here 6 times just to meet with us. Let's do it. And we had a really, really huge summer that year.
Man, that's my favorite part of this whole story. That's that's something I see a lot of people lack. And it's a willingness to just take action and figure the rest out later. You just got to go. If you see something and you feel like it's for you, you just have to go. You have to stop talking about it and you just have to go. And people don't have the bravery to do that.
You got to dive in, man. That's it. You got to dive in sometimes. Like, as I said too, and we talked about this last time was, when the pandemic hit, I was working in the music industry for the first time.
You were so stoked.
My first salary role with my own office in the music industry. I was like, perfect. Hospitality, sayonara, not coming back till I'm ready to retire and open up a diner or something stupid that is going to consume my life again. But when COVID hit and all events and music shut down, I lost my job right away, and I ended up, one of the things that I know how to do best is manage in the restaurant industry. So I made the decision that I had to go back, but the only way that I was going to do that was make the moves to do it in a place that made sense, where I saw there was opportunity to grow, and where I saw a lot of potential and just saw a place where I could enjoy doing it. Toronto was not going to be that. Any other city along the 401 corridor was not going to be that. Finding this really special place that has that tourist energy, that has so many cool things to offer and feels like you're kind of not even in the same province anymore, that was the right place. And the only way I was going to do that was to make it happen. And so I had to make it happen.
Dude, I love that. That's the best part of the story. I can't believe you left that out until now.
Hey, you gotta save the best for last sometimes, man. It all had to build up to the best part, right?
Yeah, no kidding, man. Well, dude, thank you for joining me. I hope if there's anything that people take out of this conversation, it's just, I hope they take out of it the fire under their ass to just go do the thing that they think that they should do. Yeah. Just go do the thing. And maybe you'll mess it up. Maybe you won't, but you won't know if you don't try, and then you're just going to have to sit exactly where you are, wondering what would have happened, and that sucks.
You'll just learn from it. That's it. Like, it's the oldest age saying, right? Is just like, you don't know, or what's the Yoda thing?
The Yoda thing.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Yeah,
it's something like that.
Yeah. Boy, I love a good Yoda reference.
Yeah, even though I just butchered it and had no idea what it actually was.
Well, I mean, there's something to be said for that too. So you jump into it, and then you're gonna get crushed if you don't have the resolve to just figure it out. And that's another mistake I see people make. They think that they have to have it figured out before they start, and no one ever does. You have to start and then figure it out along the way, because you're never going to be able to outplan all of the possible scenarios that you could encounter when you're trying to do something big. You just have to decide to do it, and then as things come up, figure out how to solve them. And it's one thing at a time, and you just knock it down and you go to the next thing.
Absolutely.
And that's that Yoda mentality. There is no try, man. You just got to do it. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for joining me. What round are the Leafs gonna get to in the playoffs this year? Go.
This is the year, baby.
I love it. Go Leafs, go. Go Leafs, go.
Thanks for having me, man.